Coming up on today's show, we're going to break down some of the latest injury news for the Crimson Tide. Bray Hubbard also got awarded with some SEC honors from this weekend's game. The Week 4 AP poll is also out, and the Crimson Tide go up a couple of spots in that. We're also going to take a quick peek and look at that Georgia game that's coming up here in 2 weeks. First things first, though, want to get to some of these injury news and notes here. Tim Keenan suffering that ankle injury. Jam Miller with that collarbone, and LT Overton has an undisclosed injury right now, but I think it was kind of a lower leg injury for him. Kalen DeBoer saying that LT Overton will be expected to play in that game against Georgia in 2 weeks. On Jam Miller, he wasn't really asked about a progress update on Jam Miller. It was just more of, hey, what does Jam Miller bring to the offense? And Kalen DeBoer basically said on that he was explosive. He's our best running back, yada, yada, yada on that front. So sounds like both of those guys are for sure going to be good to go for that game against Georgia coming up here in 2 weeks. But on Tim Keenan, he was specifically asked, coming back from that tightrope ankle surgery, is he going to be on any kind of a play count or a pitch count? This is what Kalen DeBoer had to say on that. He said, I think with any injury, there is a volume increase that has to happen and a progression. This week, we will keep building on a few things that he did last week, and I don't know what that's going to be at this point. We've got to see what kind of progress he makes, and I don't anticipate that he'll be able to go out and just play a full game, maybe the number of snaps that he would if he was completely healthy. That should be expected, I think. You got to be able to ramp him up. I was a little bit worried that they were going to bring him back against Wisconsin. There was a little bit of chatter out there that was going to happen, and I just didn't want him to come back too soon and just because they feel like they needed to with that injury to Jeremiah Beeman. But, man, the play from London Simmons, I think, has been solid. It's been all you could really ask for out of a true freshman that was a 3-star coming out of high school. He's only had 6 tackles this year, but he's doing a lot of things in the run defense game, plugging up some of those holes. You don't necessarily get, stats in the stat box for a lot of things that London Simmons is doing right now. He's got 3 stops so far this season. That's basically a tackle right at the line of scrimmage. So it's not a tackle for loss, but it's not a gain either. And James Smith has also been doing a really good job there at that defensive tackle spot for Alabama. Both of these guys grading really, really highly from these PFF run grades as well. So it's going to add a lot for Alabama to get Tim Keenan back, but he's not going to be 100% quite yet. But having London Simmons play against Florida State, play against ULM, and then Wisconsin, those were some big, big-time snaps for him, especially as a true freshman. So I want you guys to get down at the pinned comment of today's video and let me know how you feel London Simmons has done so far this season. Grade his performance so far, A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know what you guys think down at the pinned comment of today's video. Now, Bray Hubbard was also named co-SEC Defensive Player of the Week after his play 2 interceptions in that Wisconsin game. And I think Bray Hubbard really, after that first game against LSU, he is really starting to up his play and just, come out here and, play a whole lot better than he did in that Florida State game where, he kind of got cooked for, lollygagging and, just loafing and things like that in that game. But the past 2, man, he's gone out there, he has flown around, and he has played exceptional. 13 tackles. He's got that 1 TFL and the couple of interceptions there. He is the highest graded starter per PFF through the first 3 games for Alabama this season, and he has the 3rd most snaps played on defense. I believe the other 2 was Xavier Brown and Damani Jackson, the only 2 other players with more snaps than Bray Hubbard here. And you can see, man, he is elite with his versatility, what Alabama is asking him to do. He is playing all over the field for Alabama's defense. These numbers right here per PFF, you see he's playing down there in the box, 45 snaps. I believe one of those interceptions, if not both of those interceptions, he was playing up there kind of around that linebacker position. Maybe it was in the slot technically, but he was playing down, not necessarily at that safety spot. And just the way they use him, he's doing a really, really good job for Alabama after that Florida State game. And look, the road is just going to continue to get harder and harder for Alabama. So far, I think he's been one of your better players on defense so far this year. I hope Bray Hubbard just continues to have an incredible season for Alabama this year. All right, we are going up here against our other college football channel, the Ohio State Football Report, in our September sub battle. We also have the Michigan Football Report and the Tennessee Football Talk, but they don't do live watch parties, so they're not really racking up the subs like both of us are. Look, the Ohio State Football Report, they're cheating a little bit. They had a game on Peacock. Look, not everybody has Peacock like everybody has ABC and ESPN. So they had a lot more people tune into their watch party this past weekend, and they gained a ton of subs from that. So I want to catch them this week. They also have a bye week. So by that week 5 game, I want to catch up to the Ohio State Football Report. So get down there, hit that sub button if you have not done so already, and stay up to date on all things Crimson Tide news. All right, coming up next on today's show, we're going to take a look at the Week 4 AP poll. Alabama, after that Wisconsin game, jumping up a couple spots. And then we are also going to take just a quick peek at that Georgia matchup. But first, want to give a shout-out to our friends and our sponsor of today's show over at Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. I use Prize Picks for so many different types of sporting events, whether it's college sports, baseball, basketball, professional sports, MMA, boxing, and so much more. This is what we got cooked up. 2 football games tonight. Baker Mayfield going with a more than 233 and a half passing yards, more than on CJ Stroud. Touchdown passes on that front. He's just got to have 1 touchdown pass tonight. Ashton Jeanty going with a more than rushing touchdowns for him. All he needs is 1, or not just rushing or receiving touchdowns. He just needs 1 touchdown in general for that one to hit. And then also going with the less than on Justin Herbert passing yards. Prize Picks is super simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money today. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 40 different states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. And yes, Prize Picks is also available in Alabama as well. So download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link's going to be down at the pinned comment of today's show. It's also going to be down in the description of today's show as well. It's Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, like I said earlier, Alabama has now moved up 5 spots in the AP poll after their game against Wisconsin this weekend. And look, I know a lot of people don't necessarily care about the AP poll now, but I still do think it's a little bit fun to look out here. Let's look at the top 10 here real quick, then we'll get to where the Crimson Tide are at in the Week 4 poll. Ohio State number 1, Penn State number 2, LSU kind of had a bit of a struggle win against Florida, but DJ Lagway is absolutely terrible, threw 5 interceptions in that game. He's not as good as a lot of people thought he was coming into this season. Miami sitting there at number 4. Georgia with a big-time overtime win on the road against Tennessee. Really gritty win for the Bulldogs there. Georgia sitting at number 6. Florida State now unranked just a couple of weeks ago before the season when they beat Alabama. Now all the way up to number 7 in this AP poll. Texas also sitting at number 8. Their lone loss right now was to Ohio State in Week 1. Illinois actually up there at number 9, and then Texas A&M at number 10. They also had a big-time win against Notre Dame this past weekend. Tyler Buchner, don't always want to trash on Tyler Buchner, but kind of, fumbled the snap on that extra point, and that was kind of the difference in the game on that one. Oklahoma sitting at number 11. They had a very nice win a couple of weeks ago against Michigan. Iowa State at number 12. Ole Miss at number 13. And Alabama sitting right there at number 14. And Tennessee actually right behind them after that overtime loss against Georgia. Look, I think Alabama's sitting in a really, really good spot right now. Your schedule is about to get insanely tough. And if you go on a run, and look, you could still probably lose one more game in SEC play and still make the college football playoffs this year. I kind of looked a little bit silly on our video yesterday. We were actually filming that after the Alabama game on Saturday, so I didn't really know exactly how other games were going to play out. I said if there was one game that I think Alabama's might really struggle with, it's going to be that road game against South Carolina. Well, South Carolina ends up getting blown out at home by Vanderbilt. So maybe Vanderbilt is still that other team that we need to, take note of. But man, Alabama has to play Georgia on the road. You have to play Auburn on the road. You have to play Vanderbilt at home. You have Tennessee. You have LSU. This is a crazy schedule. You even have to go to Missouri as well. And that one could be one of those games where it's like, okay, you win a couple of really big games, and then after that, you go to Missouri, you might take them a little bit lightly, and then they go out there and beat you. So that is something that you have to make note of as well. But if Alabama goes on a run here, and let's just say they lose one more game this season, I still think that they can make the college football playoffs. So I want to hear from you guys about the AP poll. There's been a lot of discussion the past couple of weeks about the AP poll. Do you care at all about what the people voting for the AP poll have to say? Let me know what you guys think. Down in the comments, type Y for yes or N for no. All right, I also want to take just a quick look here before we get out of here at this Georgia matchup coming up on September 27th. Both teams have a bye this week, so they're both going to be fresh for that game. Georgia right now, this is per ESPN Bet, a 3.5-point favorite in this ball game. It is going to be a night game, 6:30 p.m. Central Time kickoff in Georgia. Alabama, the last 10 times these teams have matched up against each other, Alabama is 9-1 in those matchups. So, look, I mean, history says go with Alabama on this one, but this is a very, very scrappy Bulldogs team. They had multiple opportunities in that Tennessee game to lose that game. Tennessee was up. It was kind of going back and forth. And Gunnar Stockton is really looking like a really good quarterback for Georgia. After the first 2 weeks of the season for Georgia, too, Gunnar Stockton against Marshall and Austin Peay. That Austin Peay game, he kind of struggled a little bit, or Pay, whatever you want to call him. He was kind of, not just letting it loose. Kind of one of those same things that we talked about with Ty Simpson. Just not letting it loose, not trusting himself. Throwing guys open or not throwing guys open, just kind of waiting and not using that anticipation. But, last week I thought Gunnar Stockton really showed what he can be in this Georgia Bulldogs offense. This is going to be a really, really good quarterback matchup between both of these guys here. Ty Simpson really has started to hit his stride in the past 2 weeks here. Gunnar Stockton, one very underrated thing I think about his game is his ability to run. And I think the same thing goes for Ty Simpson. He just really hasn't shown it quite yet. I think Gunnar Stockton, the, pass touchdowns to run touchdowns is, I think he's like 3 to 4 or something like that. So it's kind of split. This is a guy that can definitely use his legs. And like we've known in the past, quarterbacks that can use their legs against Alabama and really any team out there, they are very, very tough to stop. So I'm very excited, very nervous about that Georgia game coming up in a couple of weeks. But Alabama looks like they're really starting to find their stride here. I'm very excited about that one. So I want to know from you guys down in the comment section, who do you guys got in this matchup? Type A for Alabama or G for Georgia. If you're watching at this point in the video, I'm going to assume you're an Alabama fan, so get down there and spam your A's down in the comment section.